What if I told you that some of the world's most innovative and influential knitwear designers come from America? From iconic Colorwork sweaters to national park inspired hats to cozy, wearable, everyday pieces that you see all over Instagram. American designers have had a massive impact on how so many of us knit today. And in today's episode of Knitting Around the World, we are deep diving into 30 knitting patterns that you definitely should know. And I'm also going to share more about the designers behind those patterns. This episode feels extra special to me because America is home to some of my favorite knitwear designers, and I'm wearing a pattern from one of them today. This sweater is called CQ and it is a design by Alicia Plummer. Alicia has very kindly set up a giveaway as well as a special discount code just for you that I'm going to talk more about in just a minute. But first, grab your knitting and maybe something to drink like a tea or a coffee, and let's get started. Let's talk about the giveaway first. Now, like I mentioned in this video, you can win a knitting pattern from Alicia Plummer, and I think Alicia Plummer has a wonderful design aesthetic. You should definitely check out her portfolio. Personally, I've made 2 of her designs so far. No, that's not true. 1 shawl and 2 sweaters. And like I mentioned, I'm wearing her CQ sweater today that I test knitted for her years ago. This sweater also feels very special to me because it is made entirely out of my own naturally dyed yarns, and I think it is a wonderful piece to use some leftovers and to make it either very simplistic, but you could also make it very colorful if you like. And yeah, I think it's an amazing design. Mine turned out just a little bit smaller and shorter than I was hoping for, but that is no fault of the pattern. That's just totally on me because I simply knitted a too small of a size, I think, or maybe my gauge was off, I don't remember. Anyway. Like I said, you can win a knitting pattern from Alicia in this video, and all you have to do is leave a comment down below letting me know which of Alicia's knitting patterns you would like to win. And please also add your Ravelry username so that Alicia can gift you the pattern. And in addition, Alicia has also offered to set up an exclusive discount code for you that I am going to put on the screen. So if you want to get any patterns from Alicia, I think this is just absolutely wonderful and so generous of her. Thank you so much, Alicia, for making this wonderful giveaway possible. Before we dive into the 30 knitting patterns, I wanted to take a moment to celebrate the richness and depth of the American knitting culture. Because the US is not only big in size, it's big in knitting diversity as well. And that's what makes it such a fascinating country to explore. In the United States, knitting doesn't come from just one tradition. It comes from various landscapes, climates, and regional histories. In the Northeast, places like Maine, Vermont, or Massachusetts, you'll find a strong heritage of wool production and small family farms. Many knitters in this region gravitate towards timeless, rustic sweaters, cables, and nature-inspired textures. In the Pacific Northwest, especially Oregon and Washington, there is a deep connection to the outdoors. The designs here often blend modern minimalism with earthy, moody color palettes, and the region is famous for its indie dyer community. The Midwest has a wonderful fiber culture as well. Sheep farms, spinning traditions, and friendly community-driven festivals that draw knitters from across the region. And in the South and the Southwest, where summers are long and warm, knitters often focus on shawls, socks, tees, and lightweight layers. Fiber traditions here are vibrant, modern, and beautifully adapted to the climate. So American knitting isn't just one story. It is a beautiful patchwork of stories woven across a very large country. One of the most remarkable aspects of American knitting is its connection to the domestic sheep breeds. And each of those breeds brings a very unique character to the yarn. Targhee is a soft, lofty, springy wool that's developed in the American West. Targhee blends beautifully into sweaters, giving them drape and bounce. Then we have Rambouillet that is popular on many US ranches. The wool is wonderfully soft and elastic that's perfect for garments that are worn next to skin. An American breed with a medium wool is Columbia, and it creates airy rustic yarns. Brooklyn Tweed uses a Targhee Columbia blend in some of their iconic yarns. Then we have Navajo Churro. This is a historic, cultural, important breed that's connected to Navajo weaving traditions. Its wool is strong, durable, and very beautiful. And then there is CVM Rommeldale, a rare American heritage breed that is beloved especially by hand spinners. The fleeces have stunning natural colors and are very soft. These sheep and the ranchers who raise them form the backbone of many American yarns. And of course, you can't talk about American knitting without mentioning its fiber festivals, some of the most beloved and popular events in the knitting world. Rhinebeck, or the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, is a pilgrimage for many knitters. This is where people debut their Rhinebeck sweater, meet designers, shop for wool, and gather as a community. Then we have the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. That's one of the oldest festivals in the country, famous for its sheep shows, spinning traditions, and incredible selection of local yarns. There's also Vogue Knitting Live that's happening in New York City. That's a glamorous, urban, and designer-focused festival, a celebration of creativity in the heart of Manhattan. These gatherings play a huge role in forming American knitting trends, from yarn colors to sweater styles to patterns that everyone is excited about. The US also has a long history of wool mills, mainly in New England, where yarn is often still produced using traditional methods. Brooklyn Tweed is one of the best known companies working closely with American ranchers and mills. Their yarns have that recognizable, slightly rustic texture that so many knitters love. Brooklyn Tweed was founded in 2005 by Gerard Flood, and they not only produce yarns, but also offer a wide array of different knitting patterns. Another key part of the thriving American knitting community are the indie dyers. Many of the yarn trends we see today, like speckled yarn, variegated yarn, self-striping yarn, stem from small studios that created those yarns first with lots of care, using local yarns and their creativity. These dyers are the heartbeat of modern American colorwork, sock knitting, and shawl knitting. And to round this picture up, let's talk about a couple more beloved American yarn companies that truly emphasize the creativity and the variety of the American yarn brands. Pearl Soho, based in New York, are known for their minimalist, modern, and beautifully curated yarns. Their soft color palettes and thoughtful fiber blends are instantly recognizable. They also offer a number of beautiful and classic knitting patterns, and most of them are available for free. Then we have Quince & Co., based in Maine. They offer elegant, natural, wool-forward yarns with a New England feel. Since 2023, Quince & Co. belongs to Lion Brand, and that's another well-known US-based yarn company. Lion Brand is a fifth-generation family-owned business. Their yarns have generally a bit of a lower price point and are sold both online and at craft chains. Then we have Harrisville Designs in New Hampshire. It's a historic mill that is producing woolen spun yarns with a timeless texture. And then there's the Farmer's Daughter Fibers, based in Montana. The company is owned by Candace English, and her yarns are deeply inspired by local landscapes and loved for their rich storytelling colorways. Together, these companies form a very colorful and diverse landscape, and one that I think really reflects the creativity and energy of American knitting. So with that little journey through America's yarn, wool, and festivals, let's talk about the knitwear designers you absolutely have to know. But before we get started with the contemporary knitwear designers, there is no way that I could not mention Elizabeth Zimmermann in a video like that. Although she is usually called Elizabeth Zimmermann, her last name is actually pronounced Zimmermann, which means carpenter in English because her husband was from Germany. She was a British-born designer who moved to the United States in the 1930s and went on to completely transform the way so many of us think about knitting. Her emphasis on knitting with confidence, her pioneering in various knitting topics like her garment sizing system and her encouraging teaching style still shapes the knitting world today. I'm only giving her a tiny spotlight here because honestly, Elizabeth Zimmermann really deserves a video of her own, and I have plans to create this video in the near future. With that being said, let's move on to a knitting pattern category that the US is truly famous for. We have to begin with someone who has shaped modern knitting trends almost like no one else, Andrea Mowry. Her designs are colorful, playful, and always deeply wearable. Her Find Your Fate shawl pattern is legendary. Her yearly Rhinebeck sweater pattern has become a beloved tradition, and people gather on the hill during the New York Sheep and Wool Festival in crowds to show off their Rhinebeck sweater version. One of her patterns that I would like to highlight today is called The Shift. That is a mosaic knit cowl pattern, and it looks almost like you are painting with yarn. It features the popular spin cycle dyed in the wool yarn that she often uses in her designs, and she combines it with a relaxed meditative stitch pattern. The result is absolutely beautiful, I think. One of Andrea Mowry's designs that I have made myself is called Boho Blush, and this is it here. It's this beautiful long crescent shaped shawl. Her version does contain tassels, but as you can see, I decided to knit mine without the tassels. Andrea also has a large portfolio of beautiful garment patterns, and I found it so difficult to pick which pattern to show you. But one that I particularly really like is called Pink Fizz, and it is this beautiful relaxed drop shoulder design with those lacy borders. And another beautiful pattern is called the DRK Everyday Cardi. It is a classic raglan cardigan that I think would make for a great wardrobe staple. The raglan seam continues from the yoke all the way down to the hem of the cardigan, which creates a nice detail. I have featured Andrea Mowry in a different video, one that belongs to my Knitting Icon series. So if you like her design aesthetic and would like to learn more about her backstory, I'm going to link the video both on the screen for you as well as in the description box below. And since I unfortunately cannot show you all of the knitting patterns from American designers that are out there, I have also created a huge bundle on Ravelry that contains well over 100 knitting patterns from American knitwear designers that I'm also going to link in the description box below for you. Next up is Caitlin Hunter from Boyland Knitwork, another designer whose work has spread like wildfire across the knitting community. The pattern I chose here is the Tecumseh sweater, and even today, years after its release, it came out in 2018, it remains instantly recognizable. Those graphic motifs, the 3-color palette, and the slightly cropped relaxed shape. It's the kind of sweater that just feels like American modern rustic to me. You have those bold motifs with this cozy, lived-in silhouette that just perfectly captures this Pacific Northwest vibe, in my opinion. Another very popular pattern of Caitlin Hunter is called Tana, and it has been knitted by thousands and thousands of knitters worldwide. When it comes to colorwork yoke sweaters, Jennifer Steingass has pretty much created her own genre. Her patterns all feel very peaceful, symmetrical, and are inspired by nature. The first pattern I want to highlight is Garden Gate. It's inspired by the beautiful wrought iron gates surrounding gardens in Scotland, and I love the clear lines of it. It looks graphic yet elegant at the same time. Another beautiful design of her is called Hinterland. This design was inspired by the Northern Lights in Norway, and I really like the fact that the colorwork pattern of the yoke is echoed on the sleeve cuffs. Her colorwork always seems to feel so calm and balanced, and I think her designs can suit a number of different styles. And I also think her patterns are a great introduction into colorwork that feels a bit more subtle and elegant. Now for someone truly artistic, let's talk about Erica Heuser. Her patterns almost feel like an illustration, and one pattern of hers that I particularly like are the songbird mittens. I own this pattern and I even knitted the first mitten, but unfortunately my gauge was completely off and the mitten turned out way too small. But I do have plans to knit this pair again because I think it is just such a beautiful and stunning pattern. Now her designs are generally a bit more involved. You not only should be comfortable knitting color work, but you also have to be able to read charts in order to make her patterns. But I think it is completely worth it. Let's move on to another category that the US is very well known for. If you've ever wanted to add a little extra color and joy to your sock knitting, you have probably come across Summer Lee. One of her most popular patterns is the I'm So Basic socks, and I have made a version of this pattern myself earlier this year. It is this very simple all over stockinette sock, and this is a free pattern, which is great. Now, as you can see, I made mine using only one colorway. I used a yarn that I naturally dyed myself, but the pattern is originally written to have contrasting cuffs, heels and toes. She has also written a whole book about sock knitting patterns that's called the Sock Project, Colorful, Cool Socks to Knit and Show Off. I am going to link it for you in the description box below if you want to check it out. Summer's designs somehow all encapsulate this feeling of colorful, playful, imperfect, joyful knitting, and I feel that's also something that is represented in the whole American knitting culture in general. Freedom, creativity, and knit what makes you happy. Another American designer who has had a massive impact on the sock knitting world is the crazy sock lady Kay. Her two most popular patterns are called Vanilla Socks on 9-inch circulars and Vanilla Socks on Magic Loop. And those two patterns have taught so many knitters how to knit simple, reliable, everyday socks. They are approachable, clear, and perfect if you want to have something more mindless and relaxing on the needles. And after we've covered color work and socks now, let's move on to a category that I personally really like, the more rustic, nature-inspired designs. Let's start with Alicia Plummer, whose design aesthetic captures the forests and coastlines of Maine in a very beautiful but also relaxed way. Her designs always feel very warm, natural, and incredibly wearable to me. One design of hers that I quite like is the pop hem pullover. She describes it as the perfect casual sweater for adventures. It features this oversized and cozy collar and is overall very casual and classic. It comes with two neck closure styles, a zip-up option, that's the one you can see here, as well as a button band option. And her Scotch pine sweater is another example of a pattern that beautifully encaptures her design aesthetic. It's neutral, classic, and casual, but also has this beautiful color work on the yoke and the sleeve cuffs that make it special. Alicia's designs always remind me of crisp air, pine trees, and long evenings by the lake. She creates these garments that feel so wearable and classic, something that you want to wear over and over and over again. And personally, I also really like her color palette. She often uses different shades of blues and neutrals, and it all looks very cohesive and beautiful, I think. Samantha Guerin is another designer that is deeply connected to nature. Her designs often feature delicate details, subtle cables, and timeless shapes. The pattern that I have picked out to show you is called the Study Session Sweater. It's a drop shoulder design that features this beautiful V-neck with the lace and cable panel that is running down the middle. And she also created a lighter version that's called the Summer Session, which is a sleeveless top that I think looks just as beautiful. I would expect these two to be one of those patterns that look incredibly intricate but are surprisingly enjoyable to knit once you get into the rhythm. Thea Coleman, also known as Baby Cocktails, is known for her intricate cables and love for natural fibers. She creates designs that have this more rustic, New England style charm and feels somehow modern and traditional at the same time. The pattern that I've picked out to show you is called the Peach Bourbon Tea. That's a beautiful cabled cardigan with drop shoulders, and I think it just looks so stunning, like a work of art. If you love knitting cables or want to challenge yourself with a project that feels incredibly rewarding, I think this would be a wonderful choice. And then there is Nancy Bates, whose designs celebrate one of the most iconic American treasures, the national parks. Nancy Bates is the beanie knitting queen, and she has published 2 books, Knitting the National Parks and Knitting California, 26 easy to follow designs for beautiful beanies inspired by the Golden State. Personally, I have made the Big Bend beanie from Nancy Bates because I spent some time in Big Bend National Park last year. In case you don't know, Big Bend is the national park of Texas, and we visited some friends of ours in Houston last year and then drove up all the way to Big Bend together. And because we had such a wonderful time there and my friend had a birthday coming up, I decided to knit the Big Bend beanie for her in order to encapsulate these special memories in the form of a knitted gift. And I think it's just so special that Nancy Bates is able to, in a very creative way, translate the landscapes that she sees, everything from the mountains to the rocks to the flowers, into a colorwork motif that feels very creative and unique, but wearable and cozy at the same time. As you can see, American knitwear designers cover a wide array of different knitting styles, but there is one more category that I would like to talk about. Designers that focus on very classic, timeless, day-to-day wearable pieces that just feel comfortable and effortless to put on in the morning. Olivia from This Handmade Life creates sock knitting patterns that feel soft, feminine and nostalgic, often with delicate details and in muted shades. Fairy Maiden is a beautiful pattern that features this lacy and cable texture. The socks are knitted from the cuff down, and this is available as a free pattern, which I think is so generous of her. Isabella Clark is a bit of a newer designer who focuses on textured garments with a modern vibe. Her rise has been very exciting to watch, and she also has a wonderful YouTube channel called 100 Acre Wool, which I'm going to link for you in the description box below. One of her patterns that I particularly like is called the Amoretta blouse. It is this short-sleeved top that comes in a number of different versions. You can knit it with or without a button band, you can add this cute scalloped edging, or you could even make it long-sleeved. So lots of different versions in the one pattern. And another pattern of hers that I wanted to show you, because I've made this one myself, are the Calm Down socks. I think this is such a beautiful design. I've test knitted this pattern for her earlier this year, and I love to wear my version. They are just so cozy, and since the cuff is so long, they also keep your legs nice and warm. She made her version and I made mine as well with unspun yarn, so we both used Nutinen yarn from the Swedish yarn company Höne Roer, but you could totally also make these socks with a usual spun sock yarn. Tori Yu's patterns are clean, wearable, and have this quiet, sophisticated beauty about them. I absolutely adore her design aesthetic, and yeah, I think she has many different interesting styles to offer that somehow feel modern and classic at the same time. The Skyline tee is a top-down saddle shoulder construction with ribbing detail that starts at the neckline and flows seamlessly down the sleeves to the cuffs. It is inspired by city skylines, and I think Tori Yu lives in New York City. And this design also comes in a long-sleeved sweater version. What I really like about her designs is how approachable they all feel. They are beginner friendly but still polished with that little extra detail that make them special. Alexandra Tavel, the designer behind Two of Wands, creates both knitting and crochet patterns that feel modern, urban, and simply stylish. One pattern of hers that I particularly like is called the Ballerina Wrap Top, and you can even get it for free on her website. The pattern has this feminine touch and is cropped so that it works well with both high-waisted jeans or sailor pants. And I think it would also look great worn with a dress. Her designs always strike the perfect balance between simple and chic, I think. Another pattern that encaptures this essence perfectly is her Le Bateau sweater. Le Bateau means ship in French, and the sweater features those classic stripes and a lightweight modern drop sleeve silhouette that's reminiscent of summer boat trips and French cafe vibes. Amy Christoffers is another popular American designer who creates basics, but they never feel plain. This design is called the Felix pullover, and it is a lightweight, airy sweater that features those distinctive lace raglan details that made this pattern so popular. It's quick, satisfying, and a perfect introduction to garment knitting. And one design of hers that I personally particularly like is the Pressed Flowers cardigan. This is an easy-to-wear, relaxed V-neck cardigan with this all-over mosaic flower pattern. Kadri blends the Scandinavian-inspired minimalism with the effortless, relaxed American style. Her patterns always feel very classic and endlessly wearable. The Aryan sweater is a simple design with a combination of saddle shoulder and raglan shaping and this beautiful higher neckline. It is slightly cropped to give it that modern silhouette, and I think it looks just so comfortable. This one reminds me a bit of my current favorite sweater, which is the sweater number 28 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I imagine it would be such a joy to both knit and wear. Kadri has a number of beautiful classic pieces in her portfolio, so I definitely encourage you to check her out if you enjoy her design aesthetic. Wool & Pine is a design duo from the Pacific Northwest. Their design aesthetic feels very colorful, playful, and instantly recognizable, and their photography is always simply stunning. I have made one pattern from Wool & Pine before. This is the Sea Glass Mini, and I have actually made two versions for each one of my daughters earlier this year. This is a beautiful pattern. It not only comes as a kids version, but it's a whole collection. You have a top for adults, a sweater, a cardigan, a hat, mittens, and I don't know what else. It is amazing, and this was particularly designed to use up scrap yarns, so this whole design is knitted with all over 1x1 color work, and I can only highly recommend it. I think it's a beautiful pattern. I have picked out another design from Wool & Pine that I would like to show you, and this is the Rockhound pullover. It's a V-neck sweater with this beautiful cable panel that is running down the middle, and it also comes as a vest pattern without the sleeves. And another design that I wanted to show you is called Broadleaf. It's this showstopper piece with a highly textural brioche motif on the front and the back. The pattern calls for one strand of mohair and one strand of a sock yarn that is creating a beautifully cozy fabric that drapes elegantly. It also comes with the option to include a stockinette back to make it a bit simpler if that's what you prefer. What I love most about the knitting culture in the US is how creative and diverse the knitting landscape truly is. You have the bold color work from the Pacific Northwest, rustic nature-inspired sweaters from New England, cozy textures from the Midwest, and vibrant, joyful sock knitters in every corner of the country. The US is huge, and so is its knitting culture, and each knitwear designer brings something very unique, very personal, and something from the place that they call home to their designs. And I truly hope that you were able to find something, either a pattern or a designer that inspired you today. I would really love to know, what is your favorite American knitwear designer, or have you knitted any of those patterns that I talked about in this video? I would love to know. Please leave a comment down below. And I am wishing you a happy rest of your day, some peaceful, relaxing knitting time, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!